Hi, I'm Annie, and today I'm joined by Sanchia and Charlie, and we're going to be moving through a 25-minute yoga practice. So we're going to start by coming to a comfortable seat. You can have a block or a cushion or a blanket underneath your seat. You could be sitting in cross-legged, or you can come onto the shins if that's more comfortable. And then take these first couple of moments to just settle into your seat. Maybe taking any movements or shuffles around that you need to get comfortable. And then when you're ready, you can close the eyes. So in our yoga practice, the breath is an incredibly powerful tool for helping us to find a kind of single point of focus. So as you begin to settle into this seated pose, start to notice the way that the breath is moving in and out of your body. And maybe you notice that there are some parts of the breath that feel tight or sticky. Maybe the breath feels kind of shallow. Or perhaps today your breath feels really easy as it moves in and out. You don't need to do anything to force it or try and change it at all. You're just beginning to notice the way that the breath is moving through the body. And then you can keep the eyes closed or blink the eyes open, but if the eyes are open, try to keep the gaze soft. You're going to float the arms over your head and take hold of the right wrist with the left hand. Keep the right sit bone connecting to the ground, but gently begin to pour the body over to the left side. And feel the way the breath moves all the way through the right side of the body. Nice stretch there. Then take an inhale, coming back to center. Swap the hands to the other side. Root down through the left sit bone. And if you're on a block and it feels a bit uncomfortable, you can shuffle your seat a bit. And we're pouring the body over to the other side. But keep lifting and extending through both sides of the waist. Come back to center using your breath. And now just swap between the two sides. So you exhale to one side, inhaling back to center, and exhaling to the other side. It can be at whatever pace suits your breath. Nice. Then let your next inhale bring you back to center. Let the arms come back down onto the legs. Maybe shrug out the shoulders a little. And take 3 big rolls of the shoulders in one direction. Really feel the whole of the movement of the shoulder blades down the back of the body. And then nice and slow, 3 rolls back the other way. You can begin to walk the hands out in front of you. So you're hinging at the hips and taking a stretch. And depending on how the hips are feeling today, you might be able to walk the hands all the way down, get the forehead on the floor. Or maybe you just reach a couple of centimeters in front of you, whatever feels right. And if you need to move the legs around, you can. This is totally your time to work with your body and how it feels to be there today. Maybe you walk the hands over to the right side, and again, you're feeling that stretch all the way down the side of your body. And then back the other way. And every breath is an opportunity to just feel a little bit more of what's going on for you today. Nice. Come back to center when you're ready. You're going to roll over the shins and come into a tabletop position. So we're finding all fours. Bending the knees, the hips stack above the knees, and the shoulders stack above the wrists. And maybe you pick up each of the wrists and give them a little bit of a shake, especially if you're tight, if you've been at a keyboard all day or you're feeling a bit of tension in the wrists, you can have a little shake out of those first. But then ground the hands down to the floor. The tops of the feet are connecting with the mat, and you're lengthening the spine, so you start to draw the lower belly in towards the spine. So we have this nice long spine, top of the head is reaching forwards, tailbone is reaching back. And with your next breath, you're going to send your bottom back and your chest forwards, coming into a cow pose. So you lift the gaze, lift the chest, and lift your seat. Then as you exhale, push the ground away with the hands, round your back, and look towards your belly button. Then same again, as you inhale, slide the shoulders down the back of the body, extend the chest forward. And as you exhale, push the ground away, taking the gaze towards the navel. And continue with this flow from pose to pose, cat and cow. And just notice how it feels to be moving with the breath. And if it doesn't feel good just to be moving forwards and backwards, perhaps you're moving from side to side, or you let the movement become a little bit more free. There's no right and no wrong way to move here. It's just starting to explore movement and breath together. And then coming back to the center, begin to tuck the toes behind you and start to lift your hips up to find a downward facing dog. And as you find your downward facing dog, hands and feet on the ground, the knees can be soft and you're lengthening your spine. But again, you can have a little bit of a move around here, so let it be free. It doesn't have to fit these templates of the pose that you might have seen other people do, or you might have tried yourself before. You're really just starting to explore how it feels to be within your body today and give yourself what it is that you think that you need. And then bring your knees to the ground, send your hips towards your heels for a child's pose. And your knees can be nice and wide to give you a little bit more space, but if your seat is still lifted from the heels, you can always place a cushion or a block between your upper and lower legs. Begin to walk the hands over to the right side. So you're stretching the left side of your body, drawing your left hip back, and using the breath to find a little bit more of a stretch with every inhale. Then coming back to center with your next breath, and walk the hands over to the other side. Nice. Take your hands back to the middle of the mat. Just come back onto all fours for a tabletop. Just find the hands against the earth. Push the ground away a little bit. So you've got this support coming from the core. You're going to take your right arm away from the mat and lift it up towards the sky. We're going to thread the needle, so taking the hand all the way through and underneath the left armpit until the outside of the shoulder comes onto the ground. And just breathing here, using the support of the left hand. If you want to, you can explore taking the left leg straight out behind you or to one side, but you can have a little play. And don't worry if you end up rolling around on the floor. You can come back and find us here when you're ready. And then placing hands and feet back down, pushing into the left hand, bringing the shoulders back up to reset on all fours. Let's take a breath in through the nose and a sigh to let it go. And then let's swap to the other side. So peeling the left arm out and over, and then threading the back of the hand through beyond the right armpit. Bringing the back of the shoulder to the ground. And taking any exploration with the back leg that you want to play with. Nice. And then when you're ready, place the toes to the floor if they've lifted from the ground. Bring yourself back up onto all fours. Take a breath in through the nose and let it go. Sigh it out. Tucking the toes behind you, slowly peel your hips up to a downward facing dog. Having a little wiggle in your downward facing dog, feeling the sides of the body lengthen again. Lifting up through the seat, bending your knees to bring a bit more space into the spine. Then scoop in through the lower belly and start to walk your feet one by one, lots of little steps, all the way to the top of the mat, and bend your knees as much as you need to. And once you arrive at the top of the mat, catch hold of opposite elbows for ragdoll, letting the head hang heavy. And you can bend the knees even more to start shifting some of the weight forwards into the front of the feet. Have a bit of a wiggle round and just feel this kind of softening of the back of the body. Noticing if you're holding any tension in the jaw and just letting that relax and soften. Nice. And then take the hands away from the elbows. You're going to interlace them behind the back of the body. So again, bending the knees and start to send the fist over the head. And if you can't connect the hands behind your back, you can take hold of opposite elbows, or you can take a strap between the hands. And maybe you're swaying from side to side. It's going to give you the strap. Yeah, nice. Beautiful. So you can sway from side to side, you can bend the knees, do what feels good to be here. Nice, and then slowly bending the knees, release the hands, either side of the feet. Look up halfway with a long spine. Then place the hands to the ground and step back to your downward facing dog. Bring your knees to the ground and sit your hips to your heels, but lift the chest. So this next one is a killer. I'm going to do it with you because it's the only way it seems fair. So your toes are tucked underneath. All 10 toes, if you can, come to the ground. Now, if this is way too strong, you can take blocks either side of you to lift a little bit of weight out of the feet. There is a lot of very tense tissue in the feet, so this toe stretch can be pretty intense. As we sit here for a couple of breaths, try not to let that tension creep up into the jaw. See if you can let the jaw soften, let the neck relax a little, and find your breath again. You'll notice that by shifting the weight forwards or back, you can change the intensity of the pose. Let's take another breath in. As you exhale, place the hands onto the floor, untuck your toes, and tap the tops of your feet to the ground to release. That feels good. Beautiful. Now sit yourselves back onto your heels. I promise we're not doing it again. You're going to take your feet from underneath you and come to a seated pose. So just making your way there however's comfortable. Swinging your legs around and bringing the sole of the right foot to the inside of the left leg. So dropping your knee out to the side. Nice. Now find your seat, maybe take a little bit of cushion from underneath you. And we're going to fold forwards over this left leg. So again, maybe using a belt or a strap to help you draw the shoulders down away from the ears and lift the chest forward. If you're not using a strap, you can take the arms either side of the ears and then hinge at the hips to start folding forwards. Otherwise, it doesn't matter how far you fold. You want to try to keep the chest lifted, the shoulders drawing back good, and the spine nice and long. Beautiful. And just be here with your breath. It took me a good 3 or 4 years to get anywhere near touching my toes. It really doesn't matter how far we're folding. We're just trying to keep the back of the body long. Beautiful. Next inhale, bring your chest back up. You can release the foot and just swap straight onto the other side. So bringing the sole of the foot somewhere on the inside of the right leg. It doesn't have to come all the way up to the thigh. It can be lower down towards the shin if that's better for you. Now lengthen through the spine. Use the scoop of the core and then hinge at the hips to fold forwards. And breathe. Let your shoulders soften down the back of the body. Lift the sternum. Good. Without forcing or straining or trying to pull yourself too deep into the pose, can you soften the breath and let it draw you in? Take one more. And then inhale to gently peel the chest up. This time the soles of the feet are going to come together, and bringing the heels up towards your groin. You're going to begin to peel the feet open. So taking the thumbs to the insides of the feet, and like you're reading a book, you start to peel them open. And maybe this is enough to be here. If you can really feel this in the hips, then stay as you are. But if you have a little bit more space, you could start to fold forwards. You can even place blocks underneath the knees if you need a little bit more support. And again, the sternum is lifted. We're lengthening the back of the neck and using the exhale breath to draw you a little bit deeper. Nice. Take one more here. And then as you inhale, lift up through the torso. Place the soles of the feet to the floor. Bring your hands behind you with the fingertips facing forwards. Coming into a reverse tabletop, so feet around hip width apart. Press into the hands, press into the feet. Send your knees forward as your hips peel away from the ground. Drawing the chest open, support from underneath the shoulders. Pulling the core in so you're pushing the hips, not the belly. The head can stay up, or if it's comfortable on the neck, you can drop it back. Take one more breath. And slowly lower your hips down towards the floor. Nice. Hug the knees into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze. And roll down onto the back of your body using the hands if you want a bit of extra support on the way down. Nice. Bringing the sole of the right foot to the floor with the knee bent. Take the outside of your left foot and place it onto the right thigh. And then reaching through, taking hold of the right leg. You can use a strap, or you can place the hands around the front of the shin or the back of the thigh. And then lower the shoulders down to the floor if you can. So this can be a pretty intense stretch. So don't force or fight to get too deep. Just let the breath soften and be where your body is today, knowing that that's enough. And slowly lower the foot down to the floor, taking it onto the other side. Pause for a moment if you want to settle the hips. Then take the outside of the right foot onto the top of the left thigh. Reaching through, taking hold of the back of the thigh, the front of the shin, or using a belt if that makes it more comfortable. Letting the shoulders soften to the ground. Maybe try flexing the right toes, the right foot, just to change the sensation in your hip a little. Take one more breath here. And then let the legs come back down to the ground. And this time you can lengthen both of the legs out onto the ground. You can drop the shoulders down the back of the body, taking any last fidgets or adjustments that you might need. And then come back to that thread of your breath. Notice the breath moving in and out of the body. And feel the back of the body resting down against the ground beneath you. And then slowly start to let all of that focus drop away. As you land yourself in this final pose, Shavasana, letting go of the need to do anything other than be here as you are. And if it feels good to release any breaths or shuffle a tool to help you find stillness, do what you need to do. And then just enjoy this moment of physical stillness here. And we'll be here for a few more minutes. And we'll be here for a few more breaths. And then slowly beginning to find your breath again. Noticing the movement of each inhale and exhale in and out of the body. And maybe you begin to wiggle the fingers and the toes, bringing some of that movement back. Perhaps a stretch of the arms over the head as you point your toes and feel the front, the back, the sides of the body get longer. And then hug the knees into the chest and squeeze everything in tight. Perhaps a little rock from side to side as you massage the back of the body. And then falling over onto the right side and just taking a moment here to pause. And there's no rush. But you start to make your way up to seated, keeping the head heavy and the eyes closed if you can. And as you arrive on your seat, lengthen your spine. Just take a breath in through the nose. And a big sigh to let it go. Gathering the hands at the center of the chest. Taking a moment of thanks to your body for allowing you to move through this practice, guided by your breath. Namaste.